Hello everyone, and welcome to another episode of Fellows in Arms. And now the overlay looks really weird. No, now it's fine. Hanukkah's camera was messed up there, but it's fine. Hello. It's the 7th episode of Fellows in Arms, and I keep surprising myself in how many of these I can make. And I'm really happy today because we are a full team and full house again. I think it was a few episodes ago we had Meow and Formal Cat on. With me I have Akiosjo, Hanukkah, and Pineapple. And today we're going to talk about a bunch of things. We've been preparing so much this week. Among the things that we'll talk about is the new updates for ARMS 3.0 and 3.1. That was kind of surprising, came out. We're also going to talk a bit about the ARMS backroom, which has been kind of created, I think, 1 week ago or so. Then after that, Hanukkah will talk a bit about the kind of rule sets and standardized rule sets in ARMS, which will be pretty sweet. We'll also kind of show our own projects that we haven't announced to the public yet, which we've been working on kind of behind the scenes, but we're kind of finally ready to show something that we've done. We still have a lot of things that we're working on besides of these, but, you know, to get things started. Then at the end we'll have a special guest with us that you'll kind of get to know at the end of the episode, and the Fellows in Arms episode 8 announcement. Okay, that was a long thing, but so Akio and me have been on like almost every episode, so you probably know us by now. But I want Hanukkah and Pineapple Freak to kind of introduce themselves, because it's the first time you're here. So why don't you start, Hanukkah, and kind of tell everyone who you are?
Okay. My name's Hanukkah Jamboree. I come from St. Louis, Missouri. I represent the tournament scene out here for ARMS. I played Smash 4 for about 2 years before dropping to focus more on ARMS, as well as Tekken a little bit on the side. I love me some Tekken. But I'm the second latest addition to the team for Fellows in Arms. I help do tournament running stuff and help create content alongside Akiosjo and Defur every once in a while. And that's my contribution to the team personally. Pineapple, let's hear from you.
All right, well, I'm Pineapple. I think everyone in the community knows me by now at least, and I'm from Cleveland, Ohio area, which is pretty much the armpit of the world. What
Armpit?
I thought you said the arms head of the world.
Armpit.
Okay.
But I have no fighting game experience like a lot of people in the community. I mean, I've played Destiny for like 2,000 hours and Halo and Call of Duty and crap. So I don't know. I have a long history with a lot of shooter games. So I'm here. I'm the newbie in the Fellows in Arms group, and I just do stuff. I don't know. Help out with whatever I can. Business, marketing, PR, ARMS backroom, whatever. It's good.
Yeah, but I'm really happy that I got both of you on the team, and also Akio, of course, but you should know that Akio by now. So, like, the first topic that we were going to discuss is, it's been kind of a while now. I think it's like it feels like it's been a month since Lollapop came out. I'm not sure how long it's been. Does anyone remember that? It's been like
2.5 weeks. I suppose it came out the 13th, I think. Let me
wow.
check.
It feels like it was like way longer.
Yeah. It was the 13th.
It feels so long ago.
Yeah.
Pop's been out since day one, I thought. What?
Yeah. So in that update, the Lollapop was released. There was also a new stage that came, alongside her. 3 new arms and quite a few balance changes. And I'm kind of curious because now Lollapop has been out for at least a bit of a time, and people have been kind of getting to get used to the character being in the roster. So I'm kind of wondering, like, what has been your take on the character? Maybe, like, do you think it's a bad character or a good character? Because we've seen a lot about it. Like, maybe Akio, you can go first about that.
Yeah. Lollapop's really interesting. Like, I remember playing her, the day she came out and everything, and, like, from her trailers and everything, it kind of seemed like she was going to be more of, like, a defensive ribbon girl or something, just because of, like, the way her jump works, but it's not really the case. She is, like, pretty unique, I would say, in terms of, like, the way that she plays and everything. And it's kind of crazy because some people are, like, actually getting good with her now, and I'm having to like learn the matchup. And it's really interesting. Like she is she does like cater to a very defensive play style and like a punish heavy play style. So it's pretty interesting to see what people are doing with her. It kind of seemed like she would be more aggressive from the trailers, but they're kind of taking a more defensive route with her, treating her kind of as like heavy or something almost.
Yeah, I'm kind of wondering, since you play Ribbon Girl, like, did you feel comfortable trying her out, or was it kind of weird, like, because of their kind of aerial movement that both of them have?
Yeah, it felt good. It was easy because like the same thing where you just hold air dash, and air dash dodge, and you know, she like bounces and gets her shield up and everything. Like just playing her on day one, that was really easy for me because I could keep my same like Ribbon Girl timings and stuff, like with the fast falling over and over again, and it still like worked. But I mean, I haven't put much time into her, so that's probably not a viable strategy anymore.
Yeah, I think like for the most part, when I tried her out, because I was thinking about switching to her as a main from Springman, was that I kind of had this tactic where I would use the kind of blocking and then the like dash in the last second to like jump around the character and grab them.
The dash out of shield.
Yeah, and then people kind of figured that out, and I was like, well, I have no tactics left with this character, so I'll just don't play her anymore. Hanukkah, have you been able to try her out? Anything?
So I did play around with Lola a little bit on like initial release and stuff, and then I played around with her again recently this past Friday. But she's really not my type of character. I don't know. Her movement's a lot different from Twintel. Like I guess a lot of characters in this game have a different movement style from Twintel. She's very specific, but you also have to remember that I play defaults only here in STL because it's a very heavily focused offline scene. So I imagine if you give Lola some pretty good customs, she gets really fun. But in defaults only, it's really not the playstyle I kind of want to have. I want to focus a little bit more on movement while still having a decently balanced kit. And it feels like with her kit, it's either focused on kind of doing that helix, sit behind the clapback and let it do other stuff kind of thing, or going like double fun chucks and just ramming your opponent into the wall. And I want to have a little more versatility when it comes to that.
Yeah, I remember seeing the STL. There was a tournament. I think it was your monthly, like some weeks ago as well.
WFGC monthly, baby, hosted at Webster University, courtesy of the Webster Fighting Game community.
I like how that worked in. So yeah,
right.
I saw. I think was it Styler Wren that was playing Lola a lot.
Yes. Styler Wren was playing Lola a lot.
Yeah, like I guess he's the only one that has been that I saw like at the stream there. Like, have you heard anything from him? Like, kind of, because he seems to be going for that character at least in the default. So, would you think that that's like a bad idea, or like, do you think what do you think about that?
He's coming from being a Twintel main. He mained Twintel like I did. And still does for certain situations in defaults. He's working on playing Lola because he likes her a bit more, but still has Twintel around as a situation for counterpicks against characters he's not a fan of with the Lola pop matchup. Because the default meta, as it's been described in a few circles, is more focused on characters and character counterpicking, sort of like how Smash is, rather than the customs meta, which is focused on arms counterpicking. So he likes both, but he likes Lola a bit more. And he thinks Lola gives him a bit more options, whereas and supports his playstyle a bit better, which is why he gives her more options. But he still does keep Twintel around.
But so this because you play mainly Twintel, I don't think I've ever seen you play any other character actually. But how is that like playing against Lola Pop as Twintel? Is that easy, or like is it a matchup that you're like, I guess, comfortable with?
In defaults, I'm very comfortable with it. Twintel has a lot of good options against Lola. Additionally, I myself am very good at getting strange grab reads and conditioning the opponent for grabs. You'll hear Steelhead talk about it. It's very hard to grab me, and whenever he tries to, I usually sidestep and get a free grab as a result. So he doesn't go for it often as a result of that. And Lola, with so much of her movement being based around her being shielded or in shield, at least against the few Lolas I've played, I've been able to get good grabs. I've been able to use my Thunderbird to go around their clapback to force them to switch off to that. I've been able to stuff them out with Chillas and Thunderbirds and stuff in order to keep them from getting too set up defensively or being able to move too much. So I personally feel the Twintel Lollipop matchup, at least with defaults, is definitely in Twintel's favor.
I see. As someone who has been kind of not playing at all offline, I haven't seen very many Lollapop, especially in Europe. I think I only know kind of maybe 2 of them, and they're not doing them full time at least. Moving over to Pineapple, like how has your experience been with Lollapop? I don't think I've seen you play her at all, but maybe like have you faced her a lot, or like how has that been looking for you as a Kid Cobra?
I mean, I haven't played any other character. I don't think I've even touched Lollipop. I said you have to play her. But I was talking. I played with Gasso. I know Rafa has used Lola. Spin, S3, and I know I was talking with
mostly
Poppy.
European.
What?
Mostly European players, right?
Yeah. I don't. But I was talking to Poppy Jr. the other day, and I was kind of getting his thoughts on this because he mained Lola. We were talking about how now that it's been like 2.5 weeks, the community has kind of adapted to how a typical Lollapop player plays, and in that way, like facing Lollapop, you kind of get into more of the mind games. I think that's really important part. Is the first couple weeks are really difficult because no one knows how to play the character, no one knows how to play against them. Now we're seeing the meta kind of shift. You're like, okay, Lollapop does these 3 or 4 different things, and you can kind of expect that, and that's how you kind of move past that.
Yeah.
I know that looking at Lollapop, like it's kind of similar to Kid Cobra in a weird way because Lollapop's options are essentially all extended movements. They don't, she doesn't have the deflect or active Sora or something like that. So her kit is very tailored to trying to make your opponent think you're going to move one way or move another way or shield, and that's kind of where she falls. And she has a very solid kit. I would definitely rank her. Maybe not top like tier along with like a Springman or a Twintel, but she has a lot of solid options.
Yeah, I was actually going to just ask about kind of tiers from all of you. About since not just kind of the official kind of ranking for all of them, but just
definitely is official.
Yeah, no, but just kind of what you've been feeling with Lola, at least not anything final, but like if you go by the the S, A, B, and C ranks, or I think some of them have D ranks. Like where would you place Lollapop Pineapple, like in those kind of?
I mean, J Knight and myself have our own personal tier list that we created based on the kit. Yeah, we do. And it's part, but
it doesn't make sense.
It does make sense. Wait, but I won't talk about that. But like, we kind of ranked Lola in terms of like the B tier because unlike some of the S tier characters, she has like a solid kit, but it's again all how you use it.
Okay.
Up in J Knights and our tier list, like the 3 characters that we had in C tier all got buffs in the last couple updates. So hey, I mean, there might our list.
I from my perspective, I think that it's still super hard for me to put characters into into tiers because I'm all about kind of the statistics and seeing like who is winning the tournaments. But I know that that doesn't tell the entire story. But like Akio, it seemed like you didn't like agree with Pineapple. Is that something that goes for Lollapop too? Like, do you think she should be higher or lower in like a potential like tier list?
No, with Lola, I actually kind of agree with that. I was gonna say she's probably like B tier, high B tier. Like her defaults, like they're individually, they're all like good arms. Like I had someone mess me up with double clapbacks the other day, like on stream. It was pretty humiliating. But like that's kind of like niche, But yeah, like you have Fun Chucks, you have Defur. Like they're both good arms individually, but really, like when you think about the options that you have with only the 3 of those, there's not a whole lot. Like you don't have like, a forward, like you don't have a glove arm, you don't have a very like curve arm, they're kind of okay at both of their jobs, but they're not very like specific. And so I think when it comes to actually like using those arms like in harmony with each other, she's kind of limited. And but she is good. I'd say she's like high B tier probably.
I think for me, like I tried when I tried her out on the ranked ladder. One of the things, like you said earlier, now that she is more kind of feels like a defensive character. and that's something that I really felt when I faced like a max brass, and I kept losing, like, because he was just spamming, and I had like kind of no real options on how to move closer to him as I wanted to, and how I'm used to as Springman, just like using the deflect to kind of, or shockwave to just get closer. I just got pummeled, and then I got angry and switched to Springman and won. So it at least
because it's like, what do you do with Lollipop? You know, you can't take down Max Brass like with Fun Chucks. You know, like you can't do it.
Or at least we haven't. I guess we haven't found out the potential playstyle that would do that. But for me, like I just felt like it was hopeless. So I was like, okay, screw this. I am switching back to Springman. Hanukkah, for you, I guess most of us are talking from like a online perspective and kind of counting in the the custom arms and stuff like that. But where would you put Lollipop in a tier list? If you have like different for the offline and online, I'd like to hear that too.
Lola's F tier because she looks like a clown.
All right. You heard it here.
There, you heard it here first. Is that because?
In all seriousness, yeah, there are definitely different tiers when you're talking about defaults versus customs. Mainly because of the fact that, and this is what a lot of ARMS players aren't used to, but there are limits to balances in fighting games, where certain characters are just going to be better than others based on their design compared to others. Lola and offline, I haven't really seen enough of that to be sure, but Funchucks and Biffler can take her a decent amount of the way. I think here in STL we just haven't really had enough time to get the proper practice with her to bring her up to speed. Because when Bayonetta came out, people were like, she's busted, but they didn't really have any results. And then after she got nerfed, they were like, well, she's like B tier now. And now we see that that's incorrect, you know? I think it'll take a little bit of time, but I think she can definitely get up to A tier based on her movement options and the capabilities of her default weapons.
I see. So, just wanted to kind of clarify to anyone in chat, like what STL is, but it's the St. Louis ARMS community there, which is doing offline tournaments and stuff like that. Just so everyone knows about you guys. But there was a lot of other stuff that was in the update too. Now, for me, I'm kind of the guy that just focuses on the parts that affect me, like directly, and then I'll just kind of feel everything else out. So for me, it was just like, I think they... Okay, correct me if I'm wrong here. I know that Pineapple has the the patch notes up and stuff, but was the Tribal nerfed? It was, right?
Hell yeah, boy.
Yeah, it was.
Okay, well, in 3.0, it was buffed along with Tri-Blast, and then in the recent 3.1 update, they actually nerfed just Tribal. And what they did was they essentially decreased its speed when it's charged, which is what it needed.
Yep.
Yeah, definitely.
They did what we asked. Thank you.
Before we go...
Yeah, go ahead.
I was going to say, I was talking with Gore earlier, and we were talking about how the fact that now Tribal and Tri-Blast are no longer balanced the same, it actually gives good cases for using one or the other. Like, there's good options for both. Tri-Blast is still... Tri-Bolt is still extremely viable, but Tri-Blast being a little bit faster now actually can be more helpful for not opponent down.
Yeah.
Instead of going Tri-Bolt with hit confirming.
Yeah, I think something that kind of came to mind for me, like when they, because I wasn't I don't think anyone was expecting the 3.1 patch. At least if it sounded like most of the people were surprised. I'm not sure if I'm the only one, but it feels like I hadn't gotten used to the updates that was in 3.0. So when the 3.1 came, I was just kind of clueless for like a day or two because there was just so many changes that I had to reconsider. Was there anything like did you have to change up your game? Anything? I know that Akio, you play a lot with the double nades on.
Nades got nerfed.
Yeah, and they got nerfed. I don't Pineapple. What was the nerf on the nades again?
I think they decreased its curving, I believe.
Yeah, it's like
they're still fine, though.
Yeah, I didn't notice very much of a difference.
Okay.
No, they didn't tone it down back that much. I know that some of the things that they fixed, and with 3.1 was like the clapback because its rush was like it could go at like 90 degrees.
Insane.
Yeah. So now they toned that back. They kind of worked on toning some of the heavy arms additionally. 'Cause I know the megawatt got a little bit more of a tweak in 3.1. I know from what I was hearing, 'cause I asked everyone in the ARMS discussion earlier today, I was kind of like, all right, so what are your thoughts on after 3.0 and 3.1? What do you think the balance of the game is right now? And everyone seemed to say, like Gore actually said, he thinks the game is extremely balanced right now where the arms are. I know the buffs to the heavy arms we were talking about was that with Megaton and Megawatt's buff, it actually provides more viable options for the heavy arms, because beforehand it was really just the hammers. So the game's in a pretty good place right now, I think.
Is there anything that you kind of don't like about the game right now, Pineapple? Like in terms of like balance, or do you feel like everything is good in that sense?
I think the game is like very balanced right now. I mean, I don't think there are necessarily any outstanding arms. I know the Thunderbirds, people are saying that the nerf isn't very noticeable because it was just like the homing of the birds.
The Thunderbird nerf, not to interrupt, sorry. I went in and tried it out. It's not noticeable at all. I played a bunch of practice matches, and I think there is, out of like all the shots that I took with Thunderbird, one would have connected before the nerf, whereas after it did not. Yeah. And that was it. I was like, that's
turn down that variable, like by like 0.2 or whatever.
Because when you think about situations where you usually use Thunderbird, it's typically when you're in a pretty like straight line from the opponent. You're not necessarily curving a lot. You're basically just trying to get like one quick shot in to stun them. So I think anything, maybe the Thunderbird's retraction speed should be changed slightly, or its extension. But otherwise, I think that the updates have not necessarily nerfed anything out, like completely out of picture, but made it so that more arms are viable in a meta sense, and that's really helpful for customs.
Yeah. Do the Hanukkah and Akio, do you like agree with how Pineapple sees this, or like do you have anything that you kind of thought is kind of really unbalanced right now in the game? Maybe Akio, you can go first.
Balance is like an interesting thing to talk about, especially like because we all come from like different fighting game backgrounds. Like it's interesting to see like how we all like picture balance in our heads.
Yeah.
Because like to me, partially coming from Melee, partially just being like a game designer in general, like I kind of want to see, I kind of want to see imbalance, and I want to see things that are better than other things, because that kind of encourages like new strategies from people who don't want to like just main top tier things, not to the point where it's like Melee where you just have like 3 broken characters and no one else can win. But it's kind of like I would rather see more creative design and see like, oh, I didn't think of this as like a buff, maybe this odd aspect of it actually makes it better than Tri-Bolt or whatever. I like to see that kind of thing, and it's the more you kind of like balance things and like remove the barrier of like you're kind of getting rid of creativity in my mind. So like I kind of want to see imbalance to a point. I think ARMS is at a good place. Just it's a Nintendo game and they like to balance things in their own way, but and that's kind of where I am with the stages too. I know we're going to talk about that later, but it's like I kind of want to see like things that are better than other things, because that's where like strategy comes in.
Just as kind of like a terminology. Oh God, the English.
Terminologic.
Yes, exactly. When you say that you want things to be imbalanced, do you mean more that you want them to be a bit more situational instead?
I want creative balance rather than just like statistical balance,
Yeah, no, I understand. I think, and do you think like the Tri-Bolt thing was like one, like a part of that then, or like the kind of what was it, making it slower when it's charged kind of thing?
Yeah, I mean that's a good nerf to have, and I'm also I personally, this is not like an objectively right opinion, but I'm personally more on the side of like buffs are better than nerfs typically in like fighting games and like MOBAs and stuff, but that's just me.
Yeah, I think
again just coming from a design perspective.
Yeah, I think for me, I'm kind of like damaged from StarCraft 2, where they like a fight in StarCraft 1. I know that's not a fighting game, but like a fight in that game could take like 2 minutes, and then in StarCraft 2 it took like about 5 seconds because they just buffed the lasers of everything, and then it just like everything dies in like a few seconds, and you're just like, oh, okay, I lost. But Hanukkah, like for you, how do you feel about that? Because I know, I guess you said that the Thunderbirds weren't like doing that much of a change for you, but like anything otherwise, like are you still going to stick purely with your defaults now, or like does that feel fine for you?
Oh, online I don't play defaults. Online I run. What the hell do I run? I've been running Tribolt, Thunderbird, and I've been in between Nano Roaster. It's kind of matchup dependent, but that's sort of what I've been running online. But I don't get that much a chance to play online. I got to rank 20 on like the day of 2GG, and then I just haven't touched it since then. Because I've been just so busy running the offline scene. But I think to Akio's point about the imbalance, there's definitely at least in a fighting game, there's definitely something to be said about balance. Where, like I said earlier, some characters are just going to be bad. That's just the way it has to be. Like you can't avoid it. You can't work around it. Certain characters just by nature will be better based on the way maps are, the way character matchups are, the arms they're given, and stuff like that. There's very little you can do to fix that without changing characters entirely, you know? Like, in order to make Max Brass bad, we'd have to do a lot of things to him and remove a lot of things that make his character him, you know? And in that sense, I guess, in order to make Mechanica good, you might have to give her something extra or just really, really buff the hell out of everything she's got.
Yeah.
Which, that's not to say that those things aren't possible, but that's definitely not what a game designer is looking to do to their game, you know?
Yeah.
They're looking to have that creativity, that stuff that stands out, the things that make the characters them in addition to being, like, good characters, you know?
Yeah.
And
like, I want to see Mechanicas beat Max Brass, you know, but I want to do it not just through damage buffs. I want to do it through some other way.
Yeah, I think...
And fighting games... Oh, sorry not to interrupt. Fighting games as of late, especially non-traditional fighters like Smash, have emphasized learning different characters in order to handle matchups.
Yeah.
Like you can't select a character in this game and have it applicable and winning every single situation the easiest possible. Like not your character's not going to have like a 90 to 10 matchup with every other character. They're going to go even or negative with some of them. So learning different characters to handle matchups to at least make those even matchups go down to positive, you'd have to switch around characters, you know? And with the defaults meta, it's more obvious because characters have specific arms. You can see what counters what and when and why. But like when you bring in the customs, you got a lot more creativity, and it begins a more balancing game of customs rather than character balances, which is what we saw in update 3.1, where the only character balance was that Ninjara warps a little bit more in the air. And that was it, you know? Nothing to like Mechanica's movement speed, and nothing to like Brass's deflect timing or frames or whatever, you know. It's focused primarily on arms, which like is okay. I think the default meta is pretty decent right now, you know? Like first 2GG we saw Jared win with Catfight getting second. This 2GG we saw Resolve win with Curbs getting second. And so that was Twintel, now Springman.
Springman, I think.
Springman Ribbon Girl.
Yeah.
And then after that was in third place Steelhead playing Max Brass. Then at our offline tournaments we have like Steelhead here winning. We have N-Man winning and he plays Min Min. Yeah. We have myself winning occasionally and I play Twintel, you know, like ARMS, at least in this early state, still has a lot of good characters, good diversity in who wins what. Whereas, like, in the early stages of Smash 4, it was Sheik or Zero Suit. You didn't see anyone else. Okay, in the very early stages of Smash 4, it was Diddy or Luigi, and then after that, it was Sheik and Zero for a while. Yeah. And then for a while, it was just Sheik, because Zero's busted.
Like, relative to other games, ARMS is, like, insanely balanced.
Yeah. Like, people complain that stuff are busted. They're like, you're at such a micro level that like you just don't understand like what Bayo can do to you in Smash 4 to like mid tier.
Let's give Ribbon Girl a shine.
Yeah. But,
the way that ARMS...
Yeah, go ahead, Pineapple. Sorry.
The way that ARMS is set up as a game makes it to where I think like inherently with how like the way of attacking is throwing out your two arms in certain directions, it does allow for the game to be a lot more balanced than a lot of other fighting games. Like you know, like all the characters in a way are balanced in some ways, because like you can have tournaments where I think the top 12 for 2GGP2, like there was almost all the characters represented in the top 12. You know, and that says something when a game is in this stage right now.
Yeah. And like for me, I think it's also kind of it seems like we still haven't gotten to a place where we see like this character dominating over another character, like because people are still kind of I think it was in the last I don't remember which tournament it was, but people were like actively, I think it was 2GG, where people were like switching characters between rounds and stuff like that because they were just like, man, I'll just try this one instead. And I don't think I would see that too much in like an unbalanced game where it's just like, nah, I'll just switch to this shitty character. It's just like, or if it's not like a bad manner. Or, but one thing that I kind of got reminded by now, Hanukkah, when you mentioned Max Brass earlier, was that I think about a month ago there was like huge kind of this discussion about like how Max Brass was broken. People in Japan were like salty about it. We were salty about it, and then there's just like Carbo destroying us in the crew battle, Meow switching to Max Brass to like take the tournament, and it was just like, how does that work now? Because I haven't seen almost any Max Brasses lately, and I think the only changes that has been in these updates has been kind of not especially like any nerfs. If I like, so like, do you still think that Max Brass is like in that position where it just like, oh, he's broken, or has people gotten used to it now? Maybe Hanukkah, you can.
I never thought he was broken.
Okay.
I thought people just didn't know how to deal with him on release.
I didn't either.
Because like anytime a new character comes out, people are like, this character's so busted. Like when Cloud came out, people were like, oh, look at his up air, it's busted. And like, to be fair, his up air was ridiculous. But then like some time comes out, people are in the matchups, they nerf the character, people discover that Cloud can't tech like for 50 frames after his uppy, which like, okay, B tier. Like, you know, it just takes time for a character to reach their balance, because like when a new character comes out and someone can spend like 20 minutes offline learning like basic bread and butters for that character, people online are going to fall for that constantly because they just don't know the way around it yet, you know? And a lot of times people lab things for characters, but not against characters. Like earlier I was on Twitter a few days ago, and I was scrolling through, and someone on my timeline was retweeting every single anti-Dormammu tech video for Marvel vs. Capcom Infinite, because when Dormammu releases that Bed of Thrones, you have to obey it. You know, you have to respect that option. But people are finding out that you could do like back jumps out of it and stuff, so that you didn't take the damage, but you know, you were still kind of respecting the option. So Brass is still good in my opinion, and that's no one in the chat, please correct me on Marvel vs. Capcom Infinite. And I know I'm not that knowledgeable on it. But,
hey, more than
Brass is definitely still a good character, but I don't think he's the best. I don't think he's broken by any means necessary. And I definitely don't think he's so good that he shifts the meta really hard.
Is that something that we agree on, like Pineapple and Akio? Like for me, I'm kind of staying neutral here, but what do you think about this, Pineapple and Max Brass?
I would say I know that this has come up a lot when we talk about map selection, which is because of Max Brass's kit and being able to corner people, and that's still an issue. When we talk about map selections, we're like, well, if we have this map set, then Max Brass can just corner you, and then that's like game. So I know that has been an issue, but as a character, like I don't think he's broken. I think that it is difficult, kind of like with Min Min, where if you let Min Min get her Dragon Arm, same thing with Max Brass. If you let him stay buffed up the entire game, it's going to be a really hard uphill battle for you, and that's just the character. You know, like what would they do to change him? Get rid of him buffing up? Then that would be like no reason to play him.
I think. So I was. Thank you for the input, by the way. And so I was thinking that we were going to talk about the maps, but then. I think it could be just easier for us to just like go over and kind of see the like we're gonna talk about the projects next, and one of the things that we have been looking at is the kind of the maps and stages that will be in these tournaments, and like what should be a starter, what should be a counter pick, what should be banned, and there's been kind of like a lot of talk about that. I know we're going to talk about offline tournaments, Hanukkah, but we'll go to that like after this one. So like what has been happening lately, there has been a backroom created, and for anyone in chat that doesn't know about this, I think it's a concept that we have been kind of taking from the Smash community, if I'm correct about that. And the point of the backroom is to kind of give standardized rule sets for ARMS and how we should deal with tournaments and kind of help each other to further improve the community. So maybe we had this list here, Pineapple, about the objectives of tournament rule sets that were put in place. Maybe you'd kind of like to help us go about them and kind of read them through and tell us why we're doing this kind of things.
Yeah. So I mean, first off, for you those who don't know in the podcast, this was 4 or 5 days ago now. Jay and I approached me and said, "Hey, ARMS is at the stage right now where we could make an ARMS back room to actually discuss rule sets and discuss where the game and community is going." So that's what we did, and that's been in the works now. And now I think right now the main discussion is the map sets. And I personally have no experience with other fighting games, so this is very new territory for me. But one of the things that I think I'm kind of good at is just kind of talking to people and gauging their opinions and getting their input. And I mean, I always look at this with a very objective mindset, because when I think of these things, I don't think, oh, I'm playing Kid Cobra and I want this to help me personally. No, I want this game to be the best for competitive play, to let the competitive community thrive as possible, no matter what that means for me personally or any of my other, comrades or friends in the game. So I kind of created a list of objectives in terms of what I think a good map set would do. And I'm just going to go through these real quick. So I wrote them out in class the other day, but I said, number one, we want to create a format that allows for enough variety to make the knowledge of the maps that are in a tournament and the cognitive awareness inside of those maps useful. So understanding the maps is actually meaningful.
Yeah.
Number two was that to ensure that there's not too many maps where decisions are almost pointless, because there's so many maps out there that it's impossible to cover them all, sort of. If you ban one, the other person has so many maps to pick from, and Hanukkah's sad. And then my third one was we kind of went away with having counter picks, but that was a while back when I wrote this. But you want some of these maps to provide different play styles or offensive versus defensive play. So you want those types of things in a good selection. I think that's sort of it. I mean, the idea would definitely be to make them more neutral. You don't necessarily want a lot of gimmicky stages. So I know that one of the things was looking at Spring Stadium, which is the poster stage for the game. You're like, oh, well, that should be included. It's a starter stage. And then when you start getting into the logistics of how the trampolines function and the way the stage is set up, it's not necessarily that simple. And I definitely want to talk about something that Gore and I discussed earlier today when we talked about these actual lists.
Yeah, I was thinking that we could take a look at the next slide here. So the ones that are kind of shown here is the ARMS backroom pool stage list and the personal stage list, which is the one that Hanukkah has made. So maybe we could talk first about your kind of thoughts about this backroom stage, and then Hanukkah can kind of explain his personal stage list. Does that sound cool, guys?
Yeah.
All right. Okay. So Pineapple, could you take us through this? What is this poll, and why what is this list? What is this?
Well, Hanukkah, you made the list, right? If I'm not mistaken, you made the poll.
Oh, sorry.
Yeah. I did make the poll in the back room. It just asked what everyone thought of every stage, and then I tallied votes based on how many stages people wanted. And then from there, counted up how many people voted for what starters. Once I get to 5, I skipped over and started doing counters, and then everything after that was banned.
So we just kind of read them out, because if we do a voice-only thing, it's so in your personal stage list you have starters is Spring Stadium, Via Dolce, Mausoleum, Buster Beach, and Sky Arena. And then for the counters it's DNA Lab and Ramen Bowl.
Yes.
Um,
And
so-
for the chat who's asking right now, we have not put Sparring Ring in because it just came out. We have not worked it into the stage list yet. Obviously, it'll be a starter, but we haven't determined what to move. So this is a work in progress based on the fact that I have not had enough time due to research papers and being sick, as you can hear right now, in order to update the starters list, run another poll in the ARMS back room to see what people want. This is a work in progress. It's nothing final. It's nothing definite. Please don't get all mad on Twitter. Just take it with a grain of salt that this is a work in progress that we're working towards making something for the community. And yes, Sparring Ring will be a starter.
Yeah, exactly. I know that we're going to go over like multiple lists that have kind of been created to discuss this, and one of the things is that they all kind of have these similar stages in there.
Yeah.
Read at least that like stages like Ninja College, Cinema Dew, I guess Snake Park is illegal. I don't know why. And then like stuff. So now it's kind of talking about how do we want to make the tournament format. And one of the things I know when I talk with Osti, who is definitely talking about ARMS as a spectator sport and wanting to get viewership, which is really going to help the community. He talked about simplicity. So I know that one of the things that we're discussing when we talk about map sets is we do want a format that has a good simplicity to it so that newcomers aren't like completely thrown off by having to get this really wacky or odd rule set. So, and I think that's a good point, and I think it's something that we can achieve. So yeah.
So like looking at this kind of continuous or continued slide here with the ARMS backroom and their internal stage list with the kind of how you ban the maps and like how you go about like picking the maps. Was this like a part of that too? Like how you ban the maps? Because I know that Osti sent out a link where it was just like kind of voting on how many bans there should be as well. Like if you just like should have one or two, or like how many. Is that one part of that too?
I can talk about that.
Yeah. Okay.
Sorry, Pineapple. Yeah. But Osti, like Pineapple said, is focused on this being a spectator sport and the simplicity thereof. The more complicated you make a stage list, the kind of worse and worse it gets for the meta, because players have to spend so much time figuring out what characters are good on what stages and with what matchups. Yeah. And a lot of times, people just end up picking the same stages over and over again and ignoring very few, except for those few that help out low tiers, and then they just get banned against low tiers, So this stage list came up from like a late night talk between a few of us internally, Osti and J Knight, who we sat down and we sort of wanted to compromise between what Osti was discussing, which was a very sort of radicalized 4 legal stages, random select, go. And we were like, okay, hold on. We got to work back from that. We got to make this a little bit more esportsy. And we sat down and said, all right, we want to make stages that promote good play and neutral, and we select these stages based on promoting that good play rather than do they help characters or certain arm sets out. Because when you start to pick stages based on whether or not they assist characters or matchups, you get brawl syndrome, where all the characters that helped Meta Knight were banned, which made Ice Climbers way, way better, Snake a little bit better, and then every character was still garbage afterwards. It allowed wacky stages like that sliding ice stage in Brawl to be legal because Meta Knight wasn't good there. Or kind of wasn't. Meta Knight was still good everywhere, technically, in Brawl, because it was Brawl Meta Knight, but that's besides the point.
Yeah.
So with these stages, we selected ones that were still of like a fairly standard size, didn't have anything too wacky going on to them, and promoted solid play behind them. So Sparring Ring, Sky Arena, Via Dolce, Buster Beach, and Mausoleum. And the only things we pointed out in the discussion that we had were like, sometimes people can circle camp each other on Sky Arena, but realistically on stages where circle camping happens, it's not that bad. It's still pretty decent to play on, and it's still pretty decent to watch. And then on Mausoleum, excuse me, on Mausoleum, we had the issue where once the trampoline opens, it kind of encourages players to not approach until they've gotten a knockdown from across the arena. So it's just players like firing shots against each other over and over until eventually one of them gets a knockdown and they can approach safely. But beyond that, we thought that this stage list here that we had come up with pretty late at night was a solid one, and Osti was a very, very big fan of it, especially the stage striking, because as Osti had pointed out, stage striking is really not that fun to do. Like, I enjoy the rock, paper, scissors matches I get to have here in STL, but everything after that is like, dang, I wish we could just go to the one like neutral starter like everyone did with Smashville and Smash 4.
Yeah.
and it's kind of a necessary evil that players need in order to get to a very neutral stage.
Yeah.
But it takes up time. It's a little awkward. When you get to like really, really, really big tournaments with big stages, and like the players are whipping off their HyperXs, going across the stage, trying to talk over the audience that are booing one of them and cheering the other.
Yeah.
And it's a process that just takes time that the commentators are needing to fill, you know?
Yeah.
But it's still there because we want balance, and it's not just like CSGO and stuff, where people get to go to both sides of the map, or Street Fighter where the map doesn't even matter.
Yeah.
And so with the stage striking, we'd allowed, we think it's pretty quick. These are a good 5 stages. It's still got a ban, so people can avoid going to the one stage they hate a lot, like Via or Mausoleum, etc. And people were pointing out that, like, you really need space to get away from max brass. We really need a really long stage. And it's like, man, I kind of get that, but I play Steelhead often. I kind of know what that's like, but I in no way want to end up on the other side of the stage, 20 seconds left, and we both still have full health because we spent the whole match dancing around each other. I don't think that's the meta of ARMS. I think we allow that to happen. We end up kind of getting like Evo 2017 Smash 4 finals, where it's literally just like Salem circle camping Diddy over and over and over again. And it's incredibly lame to watch. And it's incredibly lame to play too. Both players are just like poking in neutral from super far away, hoping they can eventually get the other knocked down. I'm not super into it as a TO. I'm not super into it as a player, and I'm not super into it as a spectator.
Yeah, I know that I was talking with Gore today, and from our list of 5 stages, he actually proposed one thing, which I think is actually a good step going, which is sort of having 2 aggression stages and then 2 defensive stages. So like we kind of discussed, Mausoleum would be the sort of defensive stage, and there really isn't another defensive stage on that list. So if anything, I know that he talked about switching Buster Beach with like DNA Lab so that you have 2 defensive stages, so that if you were to ban one of those defensive stages, the other person at least has an option to do something else. Might not be the best defensive option, but they have at least something. So I know that.
Sorry, I just have a question to intervene, like in the kind of the defensive and offensive. Like, how would you like describe the defensive map, like in this scenario? I would say DNA Lab is the perfect example of this, where you have only pillars that don't have a lot of health, so it's pretty easy to take down. But you also have a good distance, and it is this kind of rectangular box where it's not necessarily that difficult to be able to back up high. Yeah.
So
okay.
They're off like that. And Akio, what are your thoughts on this? We have not heard.
Coming up with a unified, like, universal rule set is a good thing. I think every like fighting game should have that, just because like it brings the community. It just makes things so much easier across the board. The problem is when you get a bunch of people who don't understand game design, they just understand the game that they're playing, and they start trying to come up with rules. Not saying that's necessarily a problem with us, but like with every game. Like Melee has a back room, everyone hates it. You know, I like my ideal scenario to me, because I think of like starters and counter picks differently than like some people for some reason. Like to me, I would just say, okay, starters are every like square stage that's flat and doesn't have like obstacles. So like no ribbon ring, just like, you know, you have Sparring, Spring Stadium, and Sky Arena. You know, I think those are the 3. It's like those are your starters, because it's like you can pick. If you need more space, you can pick the bigger one. If you want less space, you ban to the smaller one. But it's just a square, flat stage, regardless. You know, it's still going to be a neutral start. And then for counter picks, you just have everything that there's no RNG allowed, right? Like, and there's nothing that inhibits like the skill of the player. Like snakeboards, bad. That's why it's banned. Ribbon ring, as much as I love it, those cubes like kind of are some bullshit sometimes. So that's probably banned too. But then it's like everything else, anything that where the stage is like a weird shape, where there's, you know, something weird going on, that's a counter pick, because that will always, if something is not just a flat square, it's going to benefit one character or another character. So it can't be a starter. Like, as to me, starters should just be neutral. That's how I feel. Like, but
Yeah.
I don't participate in the back room that much. I'm kind of leaving it like to Pineapple and Austin and everybody just to take care of that. Like those are my feelings.
I think as for me, like I have been also kind of just watching the back room from afar because I'm also kind of new to these kind of making rules for fighting game communities. For me, I came a lot from kind of Team Fortress, which had this kind of weird place in games and I guess to some extent esports, where it's just like it was the first kind of class-based shooter where people were trying to make it like into a serious thing. And then there was no kind of rule set to go by, and I feel like there's some similarities to this in ARMS, because in Team Fortress people were pushing like, oh, you should definitely have 5 versus 5 because Counter-Strike has 5 versus 5, like these other shooters have 5 versus 5, and then there were other kind of rules of like how the levels should be picked and stuff like that. Eventually, the game became a 6 versus 6 because there was this one guy who kept pushing it, a Swedish guy, and then they made like a season with a 6v6, and then that became the standard, and then eventually that became like the industry standard, where like Overwatch now, when they released their game, they had 6 versus 6, and it's just like, what the hell? Okay, now this is fine. And I feel like in ARM's case, it's just like, I think it's good that we're taking things from the other communities, but I'm also kind of having this kind of, not pessimistic view, but just like, I hope we just don't copy Smash entirely, or like stuff like that, because it could create this kind of just, oh, we'll just do it by routine. This is the new game, and like not considering kind of the mechanics of the game at all. But I'm really liking what the backroom is doing, because it's just like taking those discussions that I unfortunately don't have the energy for, like, because I'm doing all of these other things. I'm just like looking at them and just kind of like stroking my beard and being like, yeah, that guy, he knows stuff. And I mean, this is also coming from like a perspective of like being a game designer too, having to work with that a bit. It's just like, I feel like there's some knowledge that could be taken in as a game designer, but I feel like there's also this perspective of a player that often designers, such as myself, like kind of forget. So I'm just happy that we have this kind of thing. And
I mean,
yeah, like, do we have any kind of? I want to take like closing remarks of this backroom thing, because I think we can discuss this for like days if we wanted to.
Yeah, we can.
But like, what do you guys want to see moving forward with this? Like, is there like a common goal for it? Maybe Akio, you can go first, since we have been babbling on a lot.
I don't have many like closing remarks other than pretty much what I said, but because I think my opinion is a little bit different than most of the back room. But Gore and I were talking in the chat about an important point. Ribbon Ring is actually not RNG like some people think it is. It is just a pattern. There's like 4 different shapes that the blocks can come up in, and they come up in a cycle. So like, just learn it. Like, like it's really no different than like Randall in Melee. Like I
was about to say Randall, yeah.
Yeah, he just kind of like, he's a little cloud that just kind of like circles around the stage, but he's on a timer. Like, exactly when it's going to happen. And same thing with Ribbon Ring. Like, it just happens predictably. So if I personally don't think Ribbon Ring should be banned. I think it should be a counter pick. Like, it's not a starter by any means, but I don't think it should be banned. There's not enough like VS on Ribbon Ring. The only thing that happens sometimes is like when you punch a block and then, oh, that block was actually solid and you didn't know that. Like, sometimes that happens, but that's just like the fault of the player, not the stage's fault.
All right. Yeah. So Hanukkah, like, how about you, since you've been kind of more involved with the backroom and everything that's been going on, like, here?
So the backroom's a good idea. Every game kind of needs those leaders in the community taking a look and being like, all right, objectively, let's take a step back, figure out which stages are good, which are bad, and look at it not as an objective from players, because players will come up with a lot of different stuff. Most players want whatever stage is good for their character, or things that balance their character out more. whereas we should be focusing on creating the best stage possible for the best stages possible for the meta. And in addition to that, in the current esports atmosphere, we also have to worry about, is this watchable? You know, will people tune in and see this? And it doesn't have to be as big as Melee because, like, God, Melee's huge, but it has to be at least
wait,
somewhat passable.
Sorry, Akio, if you type, could you like mute yourself temporarily?
Oh,
Okay, sorry. Yeah, go ahead, Annika. Because it was like, yeah, go ahead. Sorry.
Drops Akio from the call. Anyway, but yeah, it needs to we need to at least remember that this game needs to be watchable if we're going to stream it. You know, we can't have just people sitting behind the pillars on DNA Lab shooting stuff back at each other and shielding constantly. You know, promoting extremely defensive playstyles in a game that we've shown doesn't have to be defensive and actually has a very good aggressive mindset to it, leads to a lot of repetitive and boring play. The back room, made up of organizers, top players, and streamers, that's a good mix of opinions and group in order to work towards a common goal of creating a solid stage list. And at the end of the day, the back room, for those unfamiliar with it, does not just come up with a thing in like a few days and then release it on the world and says, you guys have to do this. What they do is they sit down, they go through a bunch of polls, they go through a bunch of testing in local tournaments, like Austy's testing out some of these rule sets in New York, other stuff like that. There's very, very conscious decisions being made that aren't just like random or whimsical, you know? And then when they release it, it's still just a standardized recommended rule set. Everyone adapted it for Smash 4 because, one, it was built off of like a year and a half of experience at least. A lot of really good tournament organizers had looked at it and said, okay, this rule set not only helps tournaments run more smoothly, but players get into matches better, makes it more watchable, makes it easier to play and follow, stuff like that. And we're hoping to get that going with ARMS. And at the end of the day, we know that we can't please everyone. We're going to have a stage list that someone's not going to like because they aren't going to be able to play defensively, or they're going to get slammed into the corner on one stage. And that's just kind of how it is in fighting games. You can't please everyone all the time, especially in non-traditional fighters when there's so many things to consider. And we're just trying to get the most sort of neutral options possible. There are going to be some characters that get left behind, some arms that get left behind. Something just will not work for the simplicity of the game.
Yeah, thank you. And kind of before moving on to this other rule set that you were gonna talk, Pineapple, do you have like anything to add to that, or like do we feel like ready to move on?
Oh, I have so much to add, but I can't
right.
say it all.
No, but go ahead.
So, yeah, that's the thing where, like, right now in the back room, we are running polls internally, and that's going to be a big part of how we progress, make decisions. And then we also will eventually, we want to reach out to everyone and say, I want to have separate polls and get the community's opinion on a lot of these things so that we can kind of see how those align with ours or don't align. And I think when we come to tournament sets, I don't think we should be looking at how many stages can we include based on if they're fair enough for both players. I think we need to look at if we get a stage for each character and we have sparring ring, that's 21 stages. We don't necessarily want a meta where you could pick 17 different stages. That's just not viable. I think that for the simplicity of the competitive scene and not making the selection process for maps really hard, we should decide on 5 maps, and then when new maps come out, we look at, okay, here are our objectives for what we want for the maps to do: promote neutral play, promote a competitive atmosphere, promote the meta, and then does the new map that come out do one of those things better than one of the maps that's currently in our roster? If so, then we should switch it out. But again, I think one of the things that will help ARMS in the long run, also from a spectator perspective, is if people are like, oh, okay, I know these 5 maps really well because I see them in every tournament. I understand how they work. If you have a tournament where there's 13 maps, people are like, I don't understand what Scrapyard does or how people play on it, or same thing with a lot of these maps. So I think that moving forward, we should look at, is it a spectator-friendly map? That shouldn't necessarily be the driving factor because we also want to be competitive, but that's something that we need to consider in terms of that nature. And then also getting newcomers on board. If newcomers come into the game and they only have to really focus on 5 maps to be competitive, while the other maps will certainly help them if they spar in friendlies and understand how height advantage and other things can work, it might be better for newcomers to get into that competitive atmosphere quicker.
That's a very good point. I didn't really think about that, but that's very kind of prominent, especially in games such as like Counter-Strike, where you've been seeing like the Dust been played for like maybe 19 years. The Dust 2, of course. But moving on now to kind of, we had this other slide here in our super nice PowerPoint presentation about the Arms Punch Club's exhibition match rule set, and I haven't had the chance to like look through it too much, Pineapple, but could you just like run by what we're looking at here? The list is now up on the screen here, but maybe you could like tell us a bit about it.
So yeah, I think Rich Mister and the Arms Punch Club made a really good rule set that just kind of like covers. Well, it's made for exposition exposition match. So it's definitely kind of like the sparring atmosphere. But the rule set is definitely engaged at sort of making it easy for people to jump into, making it simple, because again, it is just a random selection based on these 4 different maps, and they took a lot of what we were discussing internally in the Arms backroom in terms of map selection, kind of making it simpler and also making it viewer friendly. And I think that's great because they want to get as many of these VODs up there so that players can see these competitive matches and kind of understand how these characters function, how these players actually play in a competitive setting. And I think that they do a great job at that. And I think if you can go to the next slide, we have the link to the Arms Punch Club YouTube channel. Yeah, so they are actively working. This is just what they have right now, but I know that they're trying to get more exhibition matches. I know Resolve and Gore said they might do one. That's what they're trying to do. And again, it's kind of this unity thing where we are trying to make the same maps and same rule sets appear in different tournaments. One thing that I want to say is I know Scrimps. Scrimps runs his weekly tournaments for Arms, and everyone should know Scrimps because he's like this awesome person. And he's actually going to be running the proposed rule set, the 5 map one, for Mega League tomorrow. So that will be a thing. And I think I might discuss these things before the actual league starts with Scrimps and just kind of say why these maps were selected and sort of the same stuff that goes today. But just kind of entering a testing phase where we can see some of these things in practice and try to get the community on board and unified.
That's great. I think something that I've been kind of feeling as of late now with kind of these things happening, Resolve getting like a sponsorship, and in general like people kind of gathering up. There's been like people gauging interests in locals as well. I feel like Arms is coming into their kind of next stage. I guess you could call it like the one after the honeymoon stage, where just like, oh, we have a game, yay! And now we're just like at this stage afterwards, you're just like, oh, well, we better kind of do something with it. I'm just kind of super happy to see all of this kind of initiatives, except from this podcast, of course, and the crew bats that we do, such as like Arms Punch Club that is going way more active now on YouTube, and Scrimps as well. Big shout out to Scrimps for doing everything like in his weekly stuff. One of the things that I've been thinking about going forward with Arms is like these kind of local events and how we should be kind of looking at it when we want to include Arms in those local events. And we actually had like a slide about that was before everything here. We might not have too much time to talk about this, guys, but it still is wanted to hear your kind of thoughts about it, especially from Hanukkah as well, who has been running a local tournament. So so the thing is like, you guys know this, but not people in chat might know this, or people watching the VOD. But for me, I went to a Smash local this earlier this week, which was a really interesting experience for me. I'm not gonna go into details too much, but there was a very small room with a lot of teenagers, and I felt kind of nauseous afterwards, not because someone was rude to me, but because of the smell. Otherwise, it was very kind of
smash smell.
The smash smell. Is that like, I don't know if that is a thing, but otherwise, for me, I was just basically coming into a room where everyone was playing, and I was like, "Hey guys, I have a Switch." And then it was just like silent. Everyone just like looked up at me for like 5 seconds, and I was just like, well, I'm gonna put up my Switch here, so if anyone wants to like play it with me or like try it out, you can. And then one guy like in the back, he was like, no one wants to. And then they just like continued playing Smash, and I was just like, well. And then I just played a bit. I tried to get in to playing with the others, but it didn't. Since I suck in Smash, it was just like, oh well. So I'm kind of wondering. I don't know, like Akio, do you have any like experience with the kind of local tournaments? I'm not sure if you had those close to you, but have you been to one or anything like that?
I've been to one Melee local, and it was like 5 people.
Oh man.
There, yeah. So there was, and when I went there too, they were like, "Whoa, this is the most people we've like ever had."
That's kind of cute.
There were seriously like 7 of us, and it was only because like my brother came with me, so like,
oh man.
and then yeah, so.
But
they thought there was more people than there were. But yeah, like bringing like specifically to, I don't know anything about like fighting games outside of Smash really and how people treat other games, but I do know that the FGC is like always unwilling to like bring in a new like non-traditional fighter. Like they just hate non-tradition for some reason. And it's weird because like we've talked about this in the past, but Smash as a whole has had such a hard time getting to the FGC, like specifically because of the Street Fighter community just saying like, no, Smash is not a fighting game, like you're not welcome with us. And then now that ARMS has come into the scene, yeah, now that ARMS has like stepped into the scene and we're saying like, hey, like we're gonna try to like get into the FGC too, and now like Smash 4 and Melee, they're like, hey, we're not on like the bottom of the street of the like fighting game totem pole anymore. Like, you're not allowed to be a fighting game, ARMS, and so like now Smash is like being really like dismissive of us.
It's like,
and I don't know why. I don't know why Smash specifically is doing that. Like I feel like out of all the fighting games, Smash players are the ones that like are fighting ARMS the most. I don't understand why.
It's almost like the kind of the guy that's just like poor, and then he's like goddamn rich people, and then he wins the lottery, and he's like fucking poor people, goddamn, like, get off my shit.
And
then
bitter. It's like they're so angry that like we're trying to like be a real fighting game.
Oh my god, I didn't even think about that, but that's like so true because it's just like but you were me, and then
exactly. I don't understand like why you like Street Fighter kids like I haven't heard anybody from Street Fighter say like oh ARMS is dead, like no we don't like Street Fighter has just been ignoring us like that. I don't think they really care one way or another, but like Smash is like ARMS is dead, like don't you dare play this game. Like,
yeah. I just wanted to say my 2 cents on this, which is I know that you're talking about how we kind of moved past the honeymooning phase and we're kind of working on local scenes and stuff.
Yeah. And
I think with like the issues that we had, we're not going to talk about this today because we don't have time. But I know we talked about like the Fuji GP and there was issues of lag throughout the tournament and have been a lot of things that have caused slight rifts in the community and just kind of brought up some of the more difficult things that we need to address to the community. And I think it's easy to get this negative perspective of like, whoa, ARMS isn't going to go anywhere. But we need to look at the positive end of this, which is we're a very grassroots community. We're built online, which would never have been possible if this game came out at the same time Melee did. They didn't have the resources that we have in terms of Discords and in terms of YouTube and things like this as a platform. So where we have come in just the 3.5 months now that ARMS has been out is ridiculous. Like we have done so much as a community. We've done so many tournaments, so much improvement, and it's really touching. It makes me so happy to see that because I think that we've had this kind of negative atmosphere a little bit, and we need to take a step back and see how far that we've come.
Yeah.
You know?
It's always great to hear your kind of positivity, Pineapple. That like if guys in chat, if you're not aware about this, like whenever I lose a tournament, I just like we go into voice chat and then Pineapple is just sitting there and being like, "Hey
He's like,
guys,
"It's okay,
you're
it's
all
okay."
great," and I'm just like,
Yeah.
"Man, maybe I
And we're all
don't
just like,
suck."
"We want that."
Yeah. So no, but
I think Pineapple actually is a really good point.
Yeah.
Real quick, if I can just interrupt.
Go ahead.
I think the best way to grow a fighting game scene is like from grassroots. Like the melee scene is so strong, like internally, because they fought for it and they earned it. Like Nintendo tried to shut them down so many times, and Melee said no. Like we are gonna be here, and I kind of feel almost that Nintendo wanted that to happen with ARMS. Like in the back of my mind, every time I hear Smash players say ARMS is dead, I kind of think like, is this actually what Nintendo wanted? I kind of feel like they're forcing us. They're forcing us to go grassroots because they might have figured out that that's like the better way to go about things, rather than just saying like, hey, here's a bunch of money, like let's have a bunch of mediocre players, you know, like duke it out, and then we waste a bunch of money on mediocre play. I kind of feel like they're forcing us to go grassroots because they know that in the long run, that is going to be more beneficial.
Wow,
It is beneficial, and I don't know if they're doing that on their part, but I mean, it definitely is helping us in terms of
yeah, like they're like kind of loss but our win, I guess, in a bad sense. But I also wanted to kind of shed some light to Hanukkah, who's been sitting here kind of waiting, and about like the tournaments and stuff like that. I know that like at the STL there is not just ARMS being played. I see like even on the stream I see you kind of like ping-ponging around the rooms in the background. Like how did you manage to get ARMS into this level and a community like that? Because for if anything, that like what you have done is like a great accomplishment for the community, in the sense that it's just like when you look at the other communities, it's just like, oh yeah, someone plays ARMS, but in the STL it's just like, yeah, there is an ARMS community. Like how did that, like, please teach us.
So I think one thing.
Your camera is
wait.
Your camera is like really kind of janking out now.
Is it really? That's on my end. Why is it doing that?
Okay, now it's
good.
Now? Now it's good. Go ahead.
Interesting.
Peter's just going to sleep.
Yeah.
That's very odd. Okay. Let me know if it starts happening again. I haven't used Skype in a while. It might not be updated the most because I hate Windows 10 bloatware. But
no one uses Skype. But yeah, go ahead.
No
sorry.
one uses Skype yet. So I think Pineapple brought it up, and it's important to kind of have a sense of community and togetherness in your local community, not just in the local gaming community, like for each individual game. Because I played Smash 4 for years and supported the scene here in STL for a while. I pushed very, very hard to get a tournament of it up and running at my university. And now I'm not really a fan of the local St. Louis Smash community anymore, for reasons I won't discuss on stream. But I still support them because my friends play the game. Individuals at the university and the club I run play the game. And because there are still guys in the scene that I do like, you know? So I think one thing when it comes to building your own game, grassroots, is just being there, dedication. You know, like they say in film, showing up is like 50% of the job or something. It's so true with a fighting game. You can't just expect a fighting game to grow on its own. Like if you want to start it, you have to take it everywhere. You have to be the guy that's at every single event, getting people to come play it. Because to compare it to how the Marvel scene here in STL started, it was for a while dead. For a while in STL, the only thing that was played was like Smash, and that was it. Melee and Smash 4 were it. If you wanted to play fighting games in STL, that was it. But a player by the name of iMash Buttons, actual name is Chris Lent. He moved here from Chicago, I believe. And the Chicago scene for Marvel is pretty popular. But he moved here back when like Ultimate Marvel vs. Capcom 3 was still, you know, the hit game. They didn't have Infinite yet. Infinite wasn't even announced. And he really wanted to find people to play Marvel with because he's really, really good at Marvel. He is one of the best players in the country.
Yeah.
But no one here played it. So he would go to Smash tournaments, enter the game, do all right to not all right at all, get knocked out, and then go play Marvel in the back with other people who got salty. You know, someone would get like, fuck this game, and they'd stand up, they get all mad, they'd like go to the bathroom to cool off and get some water. And then as they're coming back in, Chris Lund is like, hey man, I saw that jank, all that nonsense that just happened in Smash 4. You know what my game doesn't have? It doesn't have Rage and it doesn't have Veil. Come on, let's play.
Yeah.
And that was good enough for some people. You know, they sat down and they actually tried the game with Chris. And I'd say that the number of people that actually sat down and tried it with him, they actually stuck with it a little bit. And the reason why is a lot of the ones who are actually interested in branching out to other games will and do. They just kind of need that outlet first. Because, like, no one really had, like, the mobile PS3 with an extra monitor and fight sticks to use for Marvel, but Chris did. And he brought it to everything. Helped people get into it and play it. And they ended up becoming pretty decent players at the game. We actually have some decent Marvel players here in STL. Like, nothing compared to Chris, because Chris is like national level pretty good, but you definitely see like the roots have taken and they're growing, and the community's only getting better and better. And so another point to add to that is that not only do you need to show up to stuff consistently, but you need to support other communities. So I used to throw down $5 like twice a week sometimes to enter Smash 4, go 2-2, and then go play friendlies in the corner, you know?
Yeah.
Now, I don't really enter Smash all that much anymore, but at least make the game happen. I provide it at places. I help drive players out to the scene. And then in the corner, I have ARMS, and I'm like, hey, man, if you get knocked out of Smash 4 early and you want to learn ARMS, come on. Or, hey, man, this tournament's running a deal. It's only $1 more to enter ARMS. You could come stop by and play ARMS a little bit, try it out.
Yeah, that's...
And it's really about establishing sort of that, you know, you're not just like the ARMS player in the corner, you know. You're a dude named Danny or Hanukkah, however you want to refer to someone, and you're willing to teach people the game, you're willing to play with them a little bit, help them get into it, let them know when events are happening, get them involved with the community, stuff like that. And I think that's an issue with ARMS because without any solid data to back it up, mind you, this is just what I feel like I've been seeing. A lot of the people interested in ARMS are middle 20-somethings and up, or kids around like the teenagers around like the age of like 15 or so, give or take some ages there. And those kids don't really have transportation, or they don't have enough money to just be dropping money to enter tournaments. They don't really have the ability to take their parents' TV and lug it around to a tournament and stuff. So if they do get out to stuff, they usually can't take ARMS with them. They can only hope that it's there and that someone's playing it, you know? And on the other flip side, the middle-aged adults have already found their kind of niche. They're already doing other tournament stuff on the side. They are, you know, grinding paychecks out just to get money to get by, much less buy fancy monitors to take out and stuff. And so it's very difficult in order to get those adults the time to go out and run events. I'm in a very fortunate position where I already have a career locked down coming out of college. I fortunately landed a really good internship this past summer and am squared away. I already have a 3.99, so my senior year grades, so long as I at least try, cannot like bring me down that hard, you know? And I've got the support of a club system at my university that will give my club, my fighting game club, money to just run tournaments and stuff. And I have the availability that my parents will pay for my gas and everything. Like, so many different factors, like stars, have lined up together to allow me to just go run like 3 ARMS tournaments a week, and get away just fine with it, you know? But that's not to say I do it on myself, you know? Another important part of building the community is finding other people to help you with it. I want to give a quick shout out to Burr Ice, B4Rs_Ice. He streamed a lot of our early ARMS tournaments, and he still would be if he wasn't studying in Philly at college. He's over there with the Calamity Bros scene. He's helping run Smash 4 and ARMS for them. He's there with Moosh. Shout out to Moosh as well for running a sick tournament scene over in Philly. And in addition to that, I've also had help from Briven, a local ARMS player here, kind of streamer on his own. He helped stream tournaments when Burr couldn't. Shout outs to Steelhead and Durfla. Steelhead and Durfla have helped so much with gathering people up in the scene through the Discord, establishing a Discord for us so that a lot of our top players who don't use Facebook can still communicate in a really effective manner. We've been able to have a lot clearer communication from it, and they'll just show up to events and help run stuff. Like, they know how to use Smash GG now because I've done it in front of them once and they learned. They're learning how to use OBS kind of when I show up and have my own stream, and they're learning how to use that. So part of the whole grassroots thing is growing getting other players into the scene, but also finding other people who are dedicated to just kind of helping you. And that can be a really, really hard thing because like STL is in a really, really good position where we had Burr and Briven who had really good visibility stream-wise. Steelhead and Dirtful had really good visibility community-wise. And me, who was dedicated to spending nights filled in a room with sweaty Smash players in the corner running like 8 to 12-man ARMS tournaments. And since then, it's grown. We just got new people on our Facebook group today asking about coming to the next tournaments. And they were like, oh, you're running 3 next week? Count us in for all of them. And I was like, oh, yes, 2 more. You know? It's kind of big right now because the 2 largest tournaments we've had both had 15-man brackets, which like Smash gets more than that easily. Unfortunately, that's just the nature of it right now. The game's so new, Smash is so popular, etc. But we're working up and we're building to where we're finally kind of moving away from round robins. Like we're getting minimum 8 people per tournament, and we're always doing brackets, you know. And we're moving up and up where we're getting more people. The prize pools are getting bigger. ARMS is getting more visibility in STL because more people are just trying it. You know, they're like, this game's actually kind of fun. Like I walked into the Melee room at my recent monthly that I ran, that I had ARMS at, that you said I was, you know, popping in and out of rooms of. I'm like the organizer for that whole event, so I have to go to the other rooms and be like, hey, Tekken, how's Tekken doing? All right, cool. Hi, hey, Marvel, how Marvel doing? You know? And I run into the Melee room. Unfortunately, someone else was running Melee because they're the biggest event at that monthly. Yeah. They had like 50-plus people easily, and they had doubles and singles. So I walk in, and someone there was actually interested in playing ARMS. He had picked it up the other day. Shout out to Bland Daddy for entering ARMS, having only played online ranked a little bit, you know. But I was talking to them, and some Melee guys were like, what's the meta like for ARMS? And one guy was like, kind of sucks, just really campy. And I'm like, wrong. That's mid-level play. High-level play is very aggressive and tech chasing. And like Melee players hear aggressive tech chasing, and they're like, huh, what?
They're like,
yeah, I know. And so I got some more Melee players.
Did someone say hard reads?
And I sat down and helped train up that one guy a little bit who I mentioned, and he went back to the Melee players and was like, that was pretty cool. Hanukkah's a cool dude. He was you know, helping me understand the game more. ARMS is a really fun game. You guys should try it out. So sometimes you don't always need dedicated hardcore players that own the console and they have all the fancy controllers and they only play ARMS, you know. Sometimes you just need some guys that play ARMS on the side as their side game to enter tournaments. Because that's how Smash is. A lot of people here in the local scene have like Guilty Gear or Marvel as their main game, and then off to the side they're like, Smash 4 is alright. I guess I'll enter like $5 just for the hell of it, you know. Yeah. Because that's their idea of a fun night, you know. It's going out and just playing a game they kind of enjoy against some good guys. You know, it's not like a thing they have to win. It's just a thing they want to play. And to that point, I think another reason the offline scene here in STL has flourished is, and a lot of people in the chat aren't going to like this, but we run defaults only. We run signature ARMS because, one, we thought about it logistically as a tournament organizer. Myself, Burr, Brian, Steelhead, etc. We sat down and were like, all right, how many of us have complete setups where we have every single version of every single characters plus ARMS? And we all sat there like week 1 and we were like, we don't really have that. And we don't really have the time to unlock that right now. Because I was working 9 to 5 during the summer. Yeah. Burr was working weird jobs, just trying to make money and still play Smash. And Steel did have time, but he didn't even have the game for a while, you know? Yeah. Durflo was kind of leading the charge on that one, but even then he still couldn't catch up with how much time it took. Without cheesing the game and like setting your foot on a pro controller that your friend brought over while you have the pro controller just punching away, like it takes hours of nonsense grinding, and it's something that we wish Nintendo would fix, but realistically when you get to it, there's no way you can do that. Plus, and this was discussed in the ARMS backroom chat amongst ourselves and Austin and J-Knight, but in order to get these people that play the game for fun and just like kind of pick it up, try it, maybe want to get competitive with it, defaults is easier access. Not only does it show them that there are limits to like the combinations of factors, you know, that they can sit down and just sort of find a formula to work with for a little bit so they can learn neutral, learn what to look for and like how to win neutral, what they should do on wake up, stuff like that. When you throw custom ARMS into the mix, it becomes a lot more confusing. Not to say that's a bad thing. I do like customs and I like them a lot. But to say that default is easier access, and it more mimics a more traditional fighting game where characters have their assigned traits and their assigned arms sort of balanced for them, which for the first few balance updates, that's kind of what we saw. Characters were being balanced for their default arms, you know? We weren't seeing like buffs and nerfs in places where we thought they were really needed. We were seeing a little bit of that, but we were seeing it in places where it's like, okay, clearly this character was given this because in the signature arms sense, they needed it. But in the customs, maybe they didn't need it, maybe they needed something else. And we've seen success using that sort of defaults only offline thing here in STL because we have players who, without spoiling our power rankings, which hasn't been announced yet, we have players on our power rankings that don't own the game. They just play it at tournaments and at like, you know, fests and stuff, and maintain at least a quality enough level or still gaining like, you know, skills at it that in defaults they can do very well. Yeah. It's not like random upsets or anything, you know. They're working towards it, and because with defaults, that's manageable for them. But I think, you throw in customs, and you throw up a wall that makes it harder to get into and get that practice in, you know. Yeah. Which isn't to say that it's not possible at a certain point, but right now with the way the game is and the way the scene is and the way it takes so long to unlock stuff and how we just need more people to play the game, including people that don't own it, like other fighting games. Defaults, it really is kind of the best way to go when you run down that list, and it's unfortunate.
I think thank you so much for the input, and I think also that this story of like how the STL community has been like growing and developing is kind of inspiring, and I hope that like what you've been talking about now, that people can like take with them when they kind of go to their own locals. Because I know like I kind of learned a lot from what you said now. I also like the idea that you said before that about the kind of challenging people to beat you at the game. Like, hey, you can win like $20 if you beat me in arms, and they're just like, but
some people just do it for the hell of it.
Yeah, and unfortunately, I think we're gonna have to like move on because we've been talking a lot this episode. But it's all good. This VOD is gonna be up on the YouTube channel later, so you can take your time watching through it. And I think the kind of next topic, if anyone doesn't have any closing remarks, Akio or Pineapple. Yes, Pineapple.
I have one closing remark, and that's just. Also, I think that we need to understand and be ready to embrace the fact that the local scenes probably won't develop as quickly as we want them to, and they won't. And, you know, we still will.
It takes so much time and effort. It does. It is a labor of love, but I love this game and I love the community and I do it.
It takes 10 years sometimes, so.
We need to understand that they will be slow coming, and we will still be a predominantly online community. That's not going to go away, you know. So we definitely shouldn't just completely neglect the online stuff, which I don't think we will. But, you know, just understand that we're going to be online for the foreseeable future, and we need to be understanding of that, you know, as before. Because I personally don't have the time and energy with things going on in my life to be developing a local scene like Hanukkah, you know. So I do my best to try to help the online scene a lot more, and I think that's good. We need people in all types of backgrounds and communities to come together.
Definitely. I think that's one of the things that we are doing here right now with this podcast and the ARM crew battles that we're having too.
All right, so we have a couple things.
Now we're gonna move on to the kind of video projects and Akio has been up to. Kind of just running through and showing you guys a bit of what we have been doing behind the scenes of Fellows in Arms. Let me just switch the view here. So we have this video content slide here from Akio.
Akio's video.
Yes.
Yeah.
Hey guys, I'm in this
one. Also, before we started, I do want to say this kind of goes off into what I know Gore and other people are working on, which is sort of more content creation.
So before we go into that, Akio, if you could just like give us a rundown of like what you've been kind of thinking about and like doing behind the scenes when it comes in terms of like video content for the game.
Yeah, so like when I first started making videos way before the game even came out, like my main goal in that was just to like get people excited about the game, because I kind of
knew like, okay, like this is obviously a non-traditional fighter. People are not gonna like the efforts that we're putting into this. And so I was like, I need to make people feel like ARMS is already big. Like it already has the depth of, you know, like a fighting game that's been around for 10 years. So I just made these videos pretty much pretending that ARMS had like a huge player base, you know, in the hopes that people would be like, oh, hey, like this guy's making like really like involved content, you know, like obviously like ARMS is like a thing already. So yeah, that was kind of like my goal in the beginning. So just to like start going through the slide though, we really are gonna have more people coming in like because of Lillipop, and just like with every update that ARMS has, like more players are coming in. Like we always see like a surge of like Discord people every update, and there's always like a ton of people on ranked and everything. So because of that, people are gonna be looking for more stuff on YouTube, because like I was just watching an episode of Game Grumps the other day, like one of the biggest channels on YouTube, like super popular guys, if you somehow don't know about them, and they were playing ARMS, and like one of the main guys was saying, I get so frustrated playing ranked because I want to be good at this game, but it's not like Overwatch, you know? I can't say like, oh, I'm struggling in this matchup, let me just Google it, let me just, you know, go on YouTube and figure out, you know, how people play this matchup, because there's nothing on YouTube. And so it's like really frustrating, you know, like that would have been like huge for ARMS, you know, like imagine if someone from the Game Grumps would have been like, oh yeah, I found, you know, there's like all this content, you know, for ARMS, and that would have been like a really huge thing, you know.
Yeah.
But no, like there's nothing on there. Like there's people, you know, there's like ARMS Punch Club, there's ARMS University, like for the most part, and especially in the beginning, those were just like tutorials. They weren't actual gameplay. Like what we really need right now is just like thousands of fights. Like we just need a ton of videos. So one, it's going to really help people make a name for themselves. Like when people can start recognizing people's names in bracket, like, oh, I saw this guy on YouTube, he had that, you know, sick combo or whatever. Yeah. That's really important. In fighting games, like reputation is like 30% of the hype. Yeah. Like we really need people like building names for themselves. And also, we just need footage because people need to learn. Like, there's nothing for people to watch right now. Like, oh, like I want to play Ribbon Girl, but like I don't know how. You know, yeah. Like there's no one on YouTube that plays it. So that's something that I've said everyone can help, because if you have any footage of even just friendlies, or you stream yourself in a tournament, like it's not that we're not recording ARMS stuff. There's like hundreds of hours of ARMS gameplay on Twitch. But no one's uploading their VODs. Like, no one's taking the time to break it down into matches and upload those, because, you know, one, it's a lot of work, but that's just something I feel like we shouldn't just put that on, you know, like me, Defur, Shrimps. Like, that's not our job only to start putting like ARMS fights up. Like, anybody, if you have ARMS footage of yourself, just upload it, because it helps a lot.
Yeah, email it to like fellowsinarms@gmail.com. There you go.
So one of the things that you've been kind of talking about too is doing this kind of video, doing just that. Should we go and kind of show that to the audience now, or?
Let's wait a little bit.
Okay.
So I want to do that at the end because it's a surprise.
All right. So I kind of lost track of which kind of dots on this list that we're on now, but
I was just about to talk about Evo and stuff.
Oh, it's wait, sorry, could you take that again?
Oh, I was just about to. We're on the third bullet point on the list.
Okay.
On the slide.
Yes.
So,
all right.
Yeah. I don't know if you had anything to say about it.
The documenting Evo Japan and FIA growth. Yeah. So. I've been mentioning on my stream, like kind of back and forth, but nothing kind of official. But what we want to do for anyone like watching this is that we've been trying to kind of document everything that we're doing, and especially for like tournament wise or like highlights that come up in our streams and everything like that. And since we now have 3 players confirmed for Evo Japan, which is me, Akiosjo, and Hanukkah. And now we're also kind of seeing if we might be able to get Meow and Formal Cat to come with us. We're definitely going to document our kind of trip in Japan. Like, we're going to go together there. Soul is coming with us as well. I think Resolve was going to Japan obviously now with the sponsorship, I guess, but if I remember correctly, Carbo was going as well, so we'll be like a bunch of non-Japanese players going to just play the ARMS tournament. Maybe Hanukkah will play in the Smash one as well, but
Yeah.
but
I don't know about that.
but we're actually going there, and we're going to like document everything, and hopefully we can put something together. It says like documenting, and I won't say it's like a documentary, but we'll see like what we can do with the resources that we have. If we could do like a what is it, the Smash Brothers documentary, like if we could do something like that, we want to, and that could probably help a lot. But we'll see what kind of
my idea behind the documentary, quote unquote, is like you're saying with the Smash Bros documentary. That was like a really pivotal moment in Smash history, because it was kind of at a point where Melee was still strong, but there was mostly just, the players that were playing Melee were the players that were playing Melee 10 years ago. There wasn't really anybody new coming into the scene. And when this Smash Brothers documentary was made, that kind of like made a story out of Melee history, because it is super like anime like Melee is an anime, but it kind of like made this story out of Melee, and it got people so excited to play the game. And there's literally like a generation of people that play Melee that are named after the documentary, called Dot Kids. Like, that's how influential it was in the game. So if there was any chance that we could not rip off the Smash documentary, because I really like want this to be its own thing that's unique, but kind of in the same sense where we make a story out of the beginning of this game. Like a pivotal moment in Smash history was when the American Melee players went to Japan, and they learned like from these Japanese players, and it was like a really important moment in Melee. And it's kind of like almost poetic now that we're almost like mirroring this, like we're kind of like, oh, like we're kind of the top players right now, even though like in the long run, like I'm sure none of us are even that good, and like now we're going over to Japan, and we're gonna like learn like this new like meta that none of us have ever taken part in before. And it's like I was saying, it's almost poetic in a way, like how this is mirroring the beginning of Melee history, And I really want to.
Nintendo games is the same.
Exactly. I want to capture that feeling, like in a candid sense, like I want to be there while that's happening, and I want to film it, and I want to interview, like all these different players, not just FIA, but like obviously, since like FIA is going to be kind of like filming all of this, and like we are going to be spending most of our time with each other. I think the focus of it is mainly going to be on like FIA growing as a team and kind of expanding into like bigger and better horizons. But at the same time, I do want to put a lot of focus on like other people that are not in FIA, people that are coming to Evo, people that are staying in America, or living in foreign countries or whatever. But I think that as a whole, making a story out of the beginning of ARMS would be like incredibly helpful for like making an explosion of like this community.
Yeah, I agree.
And man, I'm just like sitting here thinking about like I'm so looking forward to that shot, or it's just like us walking down in Akihabara, and it's just like slow motion, and it's just like going to the Evo venue. I'm just like, that's going to be so sick. But
GameCube controllers in hands. I mean,
yeah.
I'll have mine because I want to get it signed. But that's it.
You'll have like the Switch in one hand and the GameCube in the other. No, but that's it's going to be like, no matter what we do, I think it's going to be great, and I'm just looking forward to the entire event, just in general, to meet everyone, and being able to kind of do these small interviews at least. That's like my mindset now. Then of course, if we can take it further and actually do something big, that would be big. I think, yeah, exactly. So moving on to the kind of fourth dot here now, because we have to take this further. We still have a lot, so we'll just kind of run it through here. So
real quick, like we were saying at the beginning, there's going to be a lot of people coming in because of the new updates, and so Hanukkah kind of approached me with this idea of saying, hey, maybe we should just have like a video that is just like a one-stop for new players. You know, they can jump into this video, they can learn everything they need to know about ARMS, and not just like how to play. Like we're assuming they can learn the controls on their own, obviously. This would be more about like how do like what is high-level play thinking like, you know? How do we approach a neutral game? How do you think about mind games in a sense? How do you kind of like what's your mindset? You know, how do you learn best in ARMS and everything? We kind of wanted to get that because that's something that like sometimes people just don't tell you that. You know, like that was something in Melee that I struggled with for a really long time, pretty much until I started playing ARMS and I was able to figure out for myself. No one really tells you, like everyone talks about, oh, neutral game, you know, punish game, blah, blah, blah. But no one really says like what that is specifically and like the exact things you're looking for. And so Hanukkah was like, hey, maybe if we had one video that had all of that, that would be good. And we should play that video now, or at least we won't play the whole thing, but we'll play a trailer because the whole thing is coming soon.
Yes. All right. So let's check it out. I actually have it kind of prepared here, not in the presentation, but the actual video file itself. So I'm just gonna play it here now, guys, so you can see it as well.
So you just bought this game ARMS. You turn on your Switch, you sit down with your friend, and you start the game. You go through the tutorials, and now you both know how to play, but what are you trying to do? Sure, you're trying to KO the other person, right? But how do you go about doing that? What kind of situations are you keeping an eye out for? How do you get the lead and keep it? Recently, when my teammate Hanukkah was at a local ARMS tournament, someone who had just spent about an hour playing the game for the first time approached him and asked, "So what am I looking for in neutral? Like, what is considered winning in this game?" This sparked a long 30-minute discussion of Hanukkah answering questions and him proposing more. On his drive home about an hour later, Hanukkah thought about how he learned to play ARMS on his own, based on the approaches to getting better described in videos like How to Get Better at Smash Bros by SSBM Tutorials on YouTube, a fantastic video if you have the time to check it out. And while resources like ARMS University exist, they're more guided and focused for individuals familiar with the game, although I also recommend checking out their Season 1 playlist now. Hanukkah wanted to create a general guide for ARMS that beginners could watch so they could start unlocking the secrets of success. My name is Akiosjo, from the esports team Fellows in Arms, and together with my teammate Hanukkah Jamboree, I'm going to answer all of these questions and more, and teach you everything you need to know from the ground up of how to get better at ARMS.
Here. Hello. Okay, there we go. We're gonna move on to the. So yeah, that video is being created and it's going to be out soon, I guess.
Yes. Like everything like is ready for production. Like all the audio, the script is written, everything's done. We just have to finish it. So.
All right.
It's coming.
So moving on to the next kind of thing is just. We're gonna move it up a bit, take the pace up a bit, guys, because I know that you've all been sitting here for like 1 hour and 45 minutes, but we just kind of briefly wanted to tell you guys like what we've been doing in terms of like the structure of the team, because we're actually being serious about this and trying to make it a real thing. So Pineapple, go ahead.
All right, yeah. So, like, one of the things with FI is that we aren't just a group of people together who just want to play ARMS. Like, we are running Fellows in Arms as an organization, and I've had a pretty good influence into that right now. We're working together with all 6 of us. We have developed like a code of conduct and sort of like how everyone in Fellows in Arms should act, and sort of, you know, valuing things like respecting people, being humble. Caring for, you know, others, being kind, things like that.
Not getting into Twitter fights.
Yeah, not getting. And that's the thing. If you notice, like, that's something that I think that all of us in Fellows in Arms have right now, and that's what we do work towards. And we actually have an official code of conduct, you know, and things like that. And for an ethical model, this was actually one of the assignments, one of my master's classes. I'm actually in I'm going for my master's in business right now, and I wrote an ethical model in terms of how you approach making decisions and things. And that was something that we actually implemented in Fellows in Arms, and sort of, how do we approach making decisions ethically as an organization that are going to help us. Thirdly, we are looking to contact sponsors soon. We have Fellows in Arms, we have the first stream affiliated, and we have enough things right now where we think we're at that stage where we can start approaching sponsors and sort of trying to get funds to help us. And we do have a big focus on where the money should go. We don't want to spend this on, our just like buying crazy cars and crap like that. Like
we're gonna buy Ferraris for every member.
If you go to the next slide, that talks about it. So that is the slide that shows essentially where our budget's going in terms of we're looking for things like we want to get everyone video card, and that's the thing right now is we want to be able to get every FIA member except me because I don't have the time necessarily to do that. Unfortunately, we want to let everyone stream so we can get more ARMS content streamed. So I know Kat, Hanukkah, and Meow also want to stream. And
Do I?
What'd you say?
Do I?
I love that graph. How like 23% takes up like 49% of the graph. Oh, 46. Okay. I was like, that's whatever.
31 plus 23 equals 100.
At least it's not like before where like all of the colors were reversed. So it's like high priority was in yellow, but then on the graph it was like black and everything.
Yeah. So like.
Oh yeah.
Yeah. But yeah, that's like our main priority right now. Other priorities are sort of getting other things for us to help stream, like better webcams and like microphones and things like that, so that and we also want to be transparent with that because I know we have accepted donations recently, and we really appreciate those so far, and we want to be transparent with what we're spending them on because we want to keep it hidden. Like we want to be open with you guys that pretty much everything that we're doing right now is to improve the stream quality and providing you more content as content creators. And also trying to improve ourselves as well. I know the one thing that I'm trying to get right now is a pro controller in terms of, I still use Joy-Cons, and just things like that. We're just trying to help Fellows in Arms improve as an organization and sort of trying to give back to the community every possible way we can. So.
Yeah, and so, yeah, I was apparently muted again. I did that thing again, but what we said basically that graph is supposed to say 46%. That's what I said, and then I just laughed at how stupid I am. So that was it, guys. But yeah, thank you, Pineapple, for telling that. And now, so one of the things that you can do to support us, guys, is that you can go like under me or Akiosjo's stream, and there's like a support Fellows in Arms button. When you donate there, all of that money will go into this that we're showing on the screen right now. Yeah, so that's like basically how that works. We're also have been looking at other ways to kind of increase the funds for us, so we're not just entirely relying on like people donating to us or like only looking at sponsors. And one of those ways that we've been doing that is that we are launching our own Redbubble page. And if you don't know what Redbubble is, it's a website where you can sell any kind of merch in like whatever you want to have it on. And so the way that it works too is that like a percentage of what you pay for that merch goes to the kind of the one owning the page, and in this case it's Fellows in Arms. So for all the merch that is only Fellows in Arms logotypes and stuff like that, it's obviously gonna be more of a kind of a donation to us, because I mean we all of us wants to have like our own Fellows in Arms shirt, but for others it's just like fanboys of this small team. So obviously so we put that at 25%, so 25% of those shirts will go to us. And then I'm also working at designing other shirts. You might not see it very well here, so I'm gonna actually go in and show you guys that. So if I just
do that,
bam, if you go to redbubble.com, you can search for it. So if you just search on Fellows in Arms, you can find our stuff. I really hope that it's working now. Otherwise, I look really stupid here. Yeah, okay, cool. So you can find all of our stuff here. And
can I just link it in the chat?
Yeah, yeah,
Well,
sure.
There you go.
And if it gets deleted, I will also link it just to be sure. Yes, we're also working on jerseys for ourselves, of course. Like, we're getting jerseys that will be, like, not these
like
ones.
actual team jerseys.
Yeah, we're getting those as well, and that's one part of the player gear that was shown in the other slide. But so you can see here on this page that you have like 3 different shirts, and like if you go into this one, like Fellows in Arms, now this one says 43, but it's because it's the premium one. You don't have to get that one.
Yeah.
You do.
Yeah, you can change this and like kind of let's say I want a V-neck kind of thing. It'll change the picture and everything, and you can get the. Unfortunately, we can't pick the colors. Like, we can't restrict that. So if you want to get a really shitty red one, then you can, but please don't, because that looks awful. And also, so the other design that I've been also kind of working on is the Lola Pop kind of design of the minimalism portraits that I was doing before. I kind of went back and like upgraded all of them. So the first one that we have kind of put out on this website now is this one with Lola Pop, because I thought people would be more hyped about that. And this one only has like 20% going to us, because I thought maybe more people would want that. And yeah, you can get it in a...
That's a business decision, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
And there
more
will
people
be...
are buying this one, so we should take less of them.
Well, that's our ethical in play.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So this is something that's kind of it's online now. So if you want to, you can go and check it out. There will be the other characters, and I'm also thinking about making stickers for like each portraits. We'll be running a poll on our Twitter, which is also Fellows in Arms, in case you didn't know. And that's basically what we've been working on, like with the kind of Redbubble stuff. We also have other things down the pipeline, but nothing that we can't really announce right now. But yeah, thank you guys for like kind of tuning in for that and checking that out. Now, that's kind of some of the things. We have a few projects that we're working on too, but nothing that we can't really show in a presentable way. So just stay tuned and follow us, and you'll see what we're all about. We want to stay transparent with you guys. So.
I personally am going to get that the one with all the hands on it as a tank top. I think that'd be sick.
Yeah.
I'm so excited for this job.
Yeah.
Yeah.
If I'm busy saving up money, I'd drop it on the premium one.
Yeah. So now this is gonna take us to the shoutouts now, and boy, I really think that this is going to be the longest episode that we've had, actually.
I know.
But it was my bad that I had too many good topics that I put in. I flipped that around. Ooh, yeah.
Too controversial.
Yeah.
The first show is too good to end.
Yeah, it just never ends. No, but so we'll just go with the shoutouts, and then we'll have a break, and then after the shoutouts, I'll tell you what the special guest is for this episode. And so yeah. Akio, do you have any shoutouts or anything that you kind of want to direct people to?
Nope, just the YouTube channel, which youtube.com/AkiosjoArms, which is, since I'm working together now with Fellows in Arms, we're just going to be having a lot more content coming up now. I think that's pretty much the only shout out that I have.
And then we can go to Hanukkah.
Mm-hmm. So I've already given shout outs to all the local players and stuff. If you haven't followed me on Twitter, please follow me on Twitter. I have a very good Twitter. If you haven't followed me on Twitch, please follow me on Twitch. Similar name to my tag and Twitter. Also follow STL Arms. That is the community I'm helping run on Twitch right now. Basically, a lot of the times, a lot of the streaming equipment that I've gotten or have prepared for myself for Arms is also going over to that. Any streaming community equipment from Fellows in Arms will end up in my computer or along with my computer, and will incidentally get used at all STL Arms events. So I'll be sure to continue to shout them out. In addition to that, I want to give one last big shout out to an event I'm running here in St. Louis, in part with my club, the Webster Fighting Game Community, and the St. Louis University Club Slew Smash, as well as their Asian American Association called Smash Out Hunger 2017. I just linked it in the chat. It is a very, very big charity tournament we're planning for Melee and Smash 4, now featuring ARMS. We're currently working on securing a prize pool. We have a silent auction planned on the side. We're going to have people there taking esports photos that you can get sent to you later on. Ooh. All player proceeds are going to charity. We'll have vendors on the side donating part of their proceeds to charity. All sorts of good shit. And it'll be going on all day long. I think we're even having a canned food drive. I think we're doing that too. That'll be on Slew's campus. And that'll be going on December 2nd from 12 to 6. We've already confirmed that Resolve, due to his sponsor and his situation, will be coming out to put on his best effort against myself, Steelhead, Durfla, and Endman. So if you're looking for some good competition in the Midwest area, that is the event to make.
Do it.
Hype. Oh man.
I also forgot my biggest shout out real quick. I have a tournament coming up next Saturday.
Yeah,
you do.
Come to. I'm gonna link it in the chat really quick. Hanukkah reminded me. I was like, oh yeah, that was the one thing that I wanted to say. But yeah, that is gonna be happening, and I'm also doing actual seeding in the bracket because I have Akiosjo stats. So yes, look forward to that. Accurate projections and accurate seedings, and also good rule sets, because for some reason it seems like no one who actually plays ARMS makes the rule sets in these tournaments.
Wait, did you
2GG.
Did you say Akio as an accurate? Did you make that into a word pun? I just realized that, and I was just like, whoa!
I think so. I don't remember.
Oh my god, I think I'm getting tired. Sorry, but yeah.
But ARMS, it was happening on Friday. Now it's happening on Saturday, so more people can come. It's not happening during school. We originally had it on Friday just because that was Saturday for Japan. But not that many Japanese people are planning on coming, so I just moved it to Saturday, and it's going to help more people. So please come.
Thank you.
Please.
And Pineapple.
I have no social media, and I don't have a Twitch, and I literally have nothing, so I can't really say to go follow me on anything. Add me on Discord, I guess, because I'm on there. But I want to give shout-outs to Scrimps, actually, because that'll be my main one. Is Scrimps is just such a cool guy, so he has tournaments every week, and that's where a lot of people grow in ARMS. So just go to his Twitch, and that's a big shout out. I also made this today. I don't know if this will show up on the camera, but I made a little postcard. I wrote every single type of group that we have and major players in ARMS. ARMS is not dead. There's a lot of people on this little sheet. I'm not sure how well that shows up.
That's so great.
Yeah.
All right. And as for me,
real quick before we move on,
sure.
One last thing I did want to say is that if anyone needs more information on how to run an offline tournament, I'll be working on making a video sort of for a more formulaic, kind of easy to break down process later on. But if you have any questions right now, feel free to message me on Discord, on Twitter. You could comment in my Twitch chat, but I probably won't see that until I stream again. But feel free to drop me questions and ask, because I am more than happy to get more local scenes running somewhere nearby.
Awesome. As for me, it's just the usual. You can follow me here or Fellows in Arms on Twitter. We'll be posting stuff. I'm gonna spam the crap out of you now with the help of Formal Cat, who's helping me on social media. So if you're on any social media, you will probably see us. That's gonna be my shout out. Now I also I almost forgot to say that, but yes, we will kind of announce the next episode. We don't have all the guests confirmed, but I wanted to show this picture to you because I freaking made this a half an hour before the show. So I'm just like, oh crap, I have to show this. So I'm gonna pull this picture up for you guys. It's going to be me. It's going to be Coney, who is from 2GG, who has been commentating Smash 4 and ARMS. And it's also going to be 9 Whole Grains, who is a Splatoon commentator, who has also been commentating in Smash. We currently have a few more people that we're considering for the last person, but in general, this episode will be about commentating in fighting games, and we'll just be focusing purely about commentating and kind of how you run events, and like how you go in as a mindset of a commentator. So for me, it's going to be like a great experience to just learn and listen to these kind of guys that are coming. If you have any suggestions on who the last guest would be, please let them know that they should be on this cast. We need your help. And yeah, it's going to be in 2 weeks. 2 weeks from now. Same time as always on a Sunday. So please look forward to that. We're probably going to put up the tweet in some week or so. But that's going to be the kind of teaser for the next episode. As for the last special guest, that's going to come up after a short break, where if you haven't gone to the bathroom, you probably should, because otherwise I'm probably going to get worried.
I did during the stream.
Yeah, you did that during the stream. I mean, I've been sitting with this like huge cup. Can you see this? It's like my head size. I need to go to the bathroom. We're going to have a break, and after the break, we're going to have me talking with Soul. That is S3OL, the UK player. And we'll kind of get to know him a bit more before we kind of close things out for this episode. So please stay tuned, guys, and we'll be back shortly with Soul if we can get him on the line.
Be back.
So for the other players here, it's going to be a goodbye, but please stay tuned. So say bye to the chat, everyone. Bye-bye.
Bye.
Goodbye.
Bye.
Stay fresh, baby.
So hello and welcome to the stream, Soul. I think maybe you can say hi to the chat here for a sec.
Hi.
Hi, it's nice to have you here. So recently you have been having like a donation page for Evo Japan, and maybe you could just like kind of it's been a thing that's been going on. Sorry, I'm a bit tired from the episode, but I'm getting back into this now. So if you guys don't know about Soul is one of the top players from the UK, and is also one who, well, you won the tournament at Insomnia, if I remember correctly, and got a nice belt to boot. Now, what has, like, how was that like for you? Like, you came into that tournament, I think it was you and TMO that we knew from the community that kind of just went straight into that. How was your experience at that tournament? Because I don't think anyone has heard it directly from you.
Well, basically, I turned up not expecting to place well at all. I didn't really know what to expect. I knew that Marcus, TMO, was going to be there. And I just went to try my best, and I ended up winning the whole thing, and I was kind of like surprised, but
yeah, I remember seeing the video that the Nintendo UK like put up, and we could tell that you were surprised from that as well. So did you get anything else except from the belt, or was it the belt that was just like the symbolic?
I actually got the belt from EGX, the tournament I just won.
Ah, I see.
About 2-3 weeks ago.
Okay.
But the prizes for that tournament, I was supposed to get yellow Joy-Cons and the belt, but the belt got delayed for some reason, so I had to win EGX to finally get my belt.
Oh well, I guess it worked out in the end. So, like, I know now, for anyone who doesn't know, there is a GoFundMe for Soul, and maybe Soul, you can like tell us like what it is, like what is this GoFundMe page that we're looking at here on the stream? All right, sorry, did we lose you there, Soul?
No, I'm here.
Okay. So I've been looking at this page a bit now, and I've been also donating to it, of course.
Yeah.
But could you tell us a bit about like how it came to be, and like what you and Akio has been doing with this page?
So I've always wanted to go to Japan, and it's always been a dream of mine since I was quite young. And so as I knew ARMS was going to be at EVO Japan, I've been trying to compete more in tournaments and put my name out there, get a reputation. And I started talking to Akio about putting together a GoFundMe for me, and because of the tournaments that I won, he basically took my performances from the tournaments and compiled them all into a trailer for the GoFundMe, and so that's how that all started, I guess.
That's great, and I think like it's looking like it's becoming very successful, at least. I know that there were some issues with the kind of the anonymous donation that came up there, but like how are things looking for you now? Like, are you going to be able to go to Japan, or like how much more would you need to fulfill that kind of dream of yours?
Yeah, so I'm working at the moment. I got a job at the right time. I've been unemployed for about 7 months, and I got this job just a month ago, so I've been saving since the start of that. But
sick.
My hours aren't really concrete. They change every week, so some weeks I could have around 40 hours, and like next week I'll have 15. So my job isn't really that reliable in terms of getting funding. But I have been able to buy my ticket because of working and the GoFundMe in conjunction. So
that's awesome. And we've been talking, of course, outside of this. Now I'm like kind of talking to the chat here as well, but about us kind of going there. I'm really excited to kind of meet everyone from the community as well, because it's not just gonna be us and Fellows in Arms. It's also gonna be Resolve and Tentan Man. I forgot to say that, and also the other soul that we can't forget. So what is like, except for this kind of GoFundMe page, which is turning out to be coming very good. Do you have like anything up and coming? Like, except for this, like any tournaments that we should look out for or anything like that?
Unfortunately not. I wish there was. I wish there was more to announce, but there hasn't been any tournaments announced for the UK, as far as I'm aware. Except for one in London that I'm not able to go to because I can't spend any money since I'm saving for EVO.
Ah, I see. Well, at least we'll be excited to kind of see you at EVO, and kind of what you'll be doing in the online community as well, in the online tournaments. I know that there are some that are going to be announced pretty soon, one which we'll be hosting in Fellows in Arms. So guys, if you haven't, you should definitely check out Soul's GoFundMe page, and kind of if you have a spare change, give that, and if not, just kind of share it so anyone else could see this page. I just wanted to give this kind of brief end interview here with Saul, so you can hear his voice and know that he's actually a real person. So
just a really shy person.
Do you have like any other shout-outs that you would like to give for any viewers?
Like in terms of social media, or
yeah, or just anything.
Other than my Twitter now, go follow me at Legend of Soul S3OL. That's basically it.
Okay. Well, thank you. That's gonna be it for this Fellows in Arms episode. Thanks everyone who has been tuning into this, and thank you Soul for appearing now. Kind of haphazardly putting together here, but thank you everyone, and we'll be seeing you guys soon with more Fellows in Arms events. So thank you, and see you soon.